Ready?
Absolutely.
The hour of 6:30 having come and gone, I will call to order the Common Council meeting of Tuesday, August 5th, 2025, and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you. Alder Madison. Here. Alder Madison is present. Alder Martinez-Rutherford. Present. Alder Martinez-Rutherford is present. Alder Matthews.
Here.
Alder Matthews is present. Alder Mayor.
Here.
Mayor is present. Alder O'Brien. Here. O'Brien is present. Alder Ohovich, sorry. Present. Alder Ohovich is present. Alder Pritchett is excused. Alder Tischler. Alder Tischler is present. Alder Verveer.
Here.
Alder Verveer is present. Alder Vitiver is excused. Alder Duncan.
Here.
Alder Duncan is present. Alder Evers.
Here.
Evers is present. Alder Figueroa Cole is excused. Alder Glenn.
Here.
Glenn is present. Alder Govindarajan. Here. Alder Govindarajan is present. Alder Ugair. Here. Alder Ugair is present. Alder Henry McKinney is excused. Alder Lankella. Here. Lankella is present. Alder Knox.
Present.
Alder Knox is present. Madam Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you.
Just noting, I'm here too.
Oh, Alderfield is here.
Apologies, Alderfield. Alderfield is present as well.
Thank you. We do have a bare quorum, so I would ask the folks in the room to please not leave the room, and the folks on Zoom, if you can leave your camera on so I don't start to worry, I would appreciate that. Just would like to not get close to losing quorum, and there are definitely, at least on the consent agenda, items that need 15 of you. So, that said, just will remind us, as usual, that we're here to do the business of the people of the city of Madison, and ask that we do that with kindness and grace for each other, and in particular, refrain from using profanity in any of our remarks, regardless of our role, staff member, or folks from the public. And that will bring us to disclosures and recusals. Actually, before we move on to disclosures and recusals, I'll just note that we have a new face in the chamber. Unfortunately, most of not the council is here, but our new transportation director, Christoph Spieler, is here with us. So I hope you guys take a moment, those of you in the chamber, will take a moment to introduce yourselves at some point during the evening. And that will bring us to disclosures and recusals. Are there any disclosures and or recusals on items on tonight's agenda? Alder Madison.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I just want to disclose for item number 56, you'll see in the RFP that the Progress Center, my organization is noted, but we got a grant before I was Alder. That grant ends this year. We, of course, are not applying for this grant and would not benefit from this grant at all. So,
thank you, Alder. Are there any other disclosures or recusals on items on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, that will take us to the presentation of the consent agenda. Vice President Govindarajan.
Thank you. A consent agenda is moved with the recommended actions listed for each item on the agenda, except 1, items which have registrants wishing to speak, 2, items which alders have separated out for discussions or debate purposes. This document lists supermajority items, agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda, items for exclusion, items introduced from the floor, and items with corrections. Agenda items that are supermajority items, agenda legislative file number 89226, authorizing the mayor to be the single signer of grant applications, grant agreements, and other contracts with the state of Wisconsin and the United States government when required, 14 votes required. Legislative file number 89346, reapproving a certified survey map of property owned by Bella on Butler LLC located on 117-125 North Butler Street, 14 votes required. Legislative file number 88894, amending the 2025 Engineering Major Streets adopted capital budget to transfer $80,000 of existing GEO budget authority from Engineering Major Streets to planning for the percent for art aggregate fund related to the John Nolan Drive Street reconstruction project. 15 votes required. Legislative file number 89041, the mid-year appropriation resolution amending the 2025 adopted operating budget by taking the following actions: appropriating $2.3 million in general fund balance, appropriating $30,128 in library fund balance, and appropriating $2,053,185 in public health fund balance, making transfers within agency budgets based on projected spending through the second quarter of 2025, and appropriating revenues and making other adjustments in non-general fund agencies, and amending the 2025 adopted capital budget by taking the following actions: updating project descriptions for approved capital projects, appropriating funding from non-borrowing sources, updating TID proceeds, and borrowing based on recently adopted amendments to TID projects, plans authorizing transfers of borrowing across projects, and removing excess borrowing. 15 votes required. Agenda items with recommendations different from the agenda. Legislative file number 88483, creating section 2.035 of the Madison General Ordinance related to requiring electoral signatures with applications to fill a vacancy on the Common Council. The CCC recommendation is to re-refer to the September 16th Executive Council meeting and council. Legislative file 89041, the mid-year appropriation resolution amending the 2025 adopted operating budget by taking the following actions I mentioned earlier. Legislative file number 89042, reauthorizing the release of the 2026 Crisis Intervention and Prevention Services Request for Proposals, reflecting modest program and structural changes based on community and provider feedback. Report of Finance Committee, adopt a substitute. And items excluded by 1, request of alders, or 2, request speakers registered by noon on August 5th is legislative file number 88804, a public hearing, new license for Red Lobster Hospitality LLC at 4502 East Town Boulevard, a Class B combination liquor and beer license. Report of Alcohol License Review Committee, speakers registered. There are no items introduced from the floor and no items with corrections.
Thank you, Vice President Govindarajan. Are there any additional items that alders would like to see excluded from the consent agenda at this time? Alder Madison?
Thank you, Mayor. Just item number 56.
Item 56. All right. Are there any additional items that alders would like to have excluded from the consent agenda at this time? Seeing none, then let me just run through that once more to make sure that we're all on the same page. We will record unanimous votes for the following items that require 14 votes. That's items 44 and 48, and 15 votes. That's item 51 and 55. We have different recommendations for items 47, that is to re-refer to the 916 CCEC and council. And then on item 55, the recommendation is to adopt the substitute. We will be excluding items 7 and 56. Is there anything additional on the consent agenda? If not, a motion, please, on the consent agenda? Is there a second? Moved and seconded to adopt the consent agenda. Is there any objection to recording unanimous vote in favor of the consent agenda? Seeing no objection, we'll adopt that consent agenda, and that will take us to public comment. We have one registrant wishing to speak on one item. That's agenda item 7, the new license for Red Lobster Hospitality on East Town Boulevard. Requesting to speak is Karen Marquis of Browntown, Wisconsin, representing Red Lobster. Do we have Karen? Doesn't look like we have Karen in the room.
I don't see Karen online, Mayor, but there is a phone number that's not showing up in registration. Would you like me to try?
Let's try that number. So if you're on the phone and you are Karen, you could unmute yourself by pressing *6. If you're not Karen, maybe just let us know that you're not Karen. You should be unmuted, but we can't hear you. If not, don't know what the technical issue is, but can't hear the person on the phone. So, any objection to proceeding? Okay, seeing none, we will go then to item 7. Item 7 is a new license for Red Lobster Hospitality LLC on East Town Boulevard. Vice President Govindarajan, a motion, please.
Move to grant public hearing.
Moved and seconded to grant the license. Are there any questions? Is there any discussion? Alder Madison?
Thank you, Mayor. I do just want to say myself and MPD have had conversations with the owners of Red Lobster, and I don't believe we ran into any issues. I support them having their license. And yeah, just want to share that.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Knox?
Thank you. I guess I just had general questions for either legal staff. Is this the person that originally their license was not renewed and they're reapplying? Is that kind of what we're addressing at the first opportunity to do so?
I believe you're referring to Red Rooster, Alder?
Oh, okay. So this is a different one. Okay.
Right, correct.
Different animal.
Red Lobster. Too many red whatever. So all right. Sorry about that. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Alder. All right. Seeing nothing additional, any further discussion? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor of granting the license? Seeing no objection, the license is granted. And that will take us to item 56. Item 56 is Legistar 89042, authorizing the release of the 2026 Crisis Intervention and Prevention Services Request for Proposals, reflecting modest program and structural changes based on community and provider feedback. Vice President Govindarajan, a motion on the substitute, please.
Motion to adopt substitute.
Moved and seconded to adopt the substitute. All right, on item 56, are there questions for staff? Seeing as staff just joined us. Alder Okovitz.
The link to the item from the agenda doesn't seem to be working.
Did you try going directly through Legistar?
I did. I searched for the Legistar number and I could not find the item.
Has the substitute been added in Legistar? Yes, it should have been added yesterday. We're going to try from different computers and see if we can get it to you, Alder. Yep. So, Jim or Yolanda, would it be possible to just email the substitute to all alders? You all have it? Oh, you have it on your, there you go. Thank you. Old school, trees. No further questions, Alder Okovitz? No. Okay. Alder Knox, questions for staff?
Just if staff can explain specifically some of those modest program changes.
All right, so we have, which seats are you in? There you go. If you want to just run through maybe a brief summary of the changes from the last time of the RFP and then anything additional since the last time we discussed this, this item.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Yolanda Shelton Morris. I'm the Community Resources Manager in CDD, and Crisis Intervention and Prevention is one of the areas that I oversee. This RFP is in a new cycle of this RFP. The last RFP was done in 2021 for awards made beginning January 1st of 2022. That was a 4-year cycle. We are now currently in the 4th year of that cycle, and so preparing to release an RFP Friday, August 8th, and awards from that process will begin contracts on January 1st of 2026 for another 4-year cycle. In terms of the changes that are incorporated in this upcoming RFP, we are condensing the previous 3 priority areas into 2. So in a previous RFP, there were 3 priority areas, and we have now condensed them into 2, which is crisis intervention support services and prevention services and activities. The latter of which will now include programs funded under the previous 3rd area, which was recovery and stabilization services. So we are proposing to remove case management as a specific program type to help emphasize the importance of non-credentialed staff with lived experience and community trust in leading support efforts. We are also looking to place greater emphasis on skill building and civic engagement as pathways to long-term stability, using targeted outreach and workshop support to meet community needs following specific events or trends. And we are also recognizing the work of Dane County Human Services, which supports youth restorative justice system that diverts our young people away from formal citations and the court system, and to avoid duplication of services. And after in consultation with Dane County Human Services, Public Health, Madison Metropolitan School District, and MPD, the city's current support for youth restorative justice programs will shift to focusing on community-based conflict resolution, de-escalation, and nonviolent communication skill building, leading to a stronger community connection, trust, and neighborhood stabilization. In terms of our most recent changes that we made to the RFP that were just entered into Legistar yesterday, those primarily focused on ensuring that we outlined specifically around supporting youth who have been involved in or currently are involved in the youth justice system. We also added language around considering place-based strategies for youth. So there was a desire to ensure that applicants were offering programs and services to our young people in areas where youth are at an increased risk of system involvement, community violence, or other harmful outcomes. So for example, West and East Town Mall, some of our local parks, areas where we see young people are congregating and getting into risky behaviors or engaging in harmful activities, ensuring that applicants are encouraged to consider place-based strategies in their programming and in their applications. So we did include language in the RFP that speaks specifically to that, and are asking programs to show and articulate how their proposed service locations are responsive to communities' context and align with the goals of prevention, stabilization, and early intervention. And that looks like collaborating with local partners such as schools, neighborhood organizations, or law enforcement. We've also included information around tracking outcomes and data via our Madison Out of School Time MIS data system. And so being able to ensure that applicants are using that system as a way for us to be able to track specific outcome data. We have also updated the RFP to reflect that for youth-specific outcomes, there are 3 required indicators that each agency would have to be responsible for tracking. The first is decrease in incidents of violence or conflict involving participating youth as measured by self-report, law enforcement, and/or school data. Increased community stabilization as reported by youth and families, and improved school attendance, engagement, and/or academic performance. So those are I would say the major updates that have been made to the RFP. Again, I would say the largest shift from the last RFP to this RFP is removing the language around youth restorative justice. Again, in consultation with Dane County Human Services, they cover youth restorative justice, a wide variety of youth restorative justice initiatives for our young people in the city of Madison. And so we did not want to be duplicative of that effort, but we wanted to figure out how do we wrap around and complement what is already being done. And from conversations with that partner as well as other partners, it was really centered around how do we support young people better in areas where they are congregating, again, the malls or parks or other areas, and how do we provide funding to support agencies who can do some of that de-escalation, conflict resolution, or other types of services that our young people are in need of.
Alder Knox,
Thanks.
additional questions?
Yes. Yeah, thanks, Yolanda, for that explanation. I guess a more direct question. When you talk about removing case management, which I believe is a professional skill set, and replacing it with lived experience, can you kind of explain to me how we'll be able to document if we're making progress at all without that professional skill set that not only identifies potential situations, but they also record the data on that? I guess I'm just trying to understand that piece.
Sure. So it's not that we're necessarily removing agencies from providing case management services. We are kind of broadening it to agencies who do provide case management services, but may not have that specific certification, but are providing those types of services in a more natural way, if you will. And so not necessarily having to have that certification, but broadening it to allow for agencies that are still providing those types of services, may not call it case management, may call it resource service facilitation or some other type of term, but so that's really the purpose of that. Does that help?
I think so. So it's really changing the language more, say, than the actual professional expertise or expertise that's being provided in that area?
Correct. We could have agencies that do have that certification or professional expertise by way of that certification, while we also could have agencies who may not have that professional certification but are still providing those services.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder Madison?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor. My comments are more so for discussion. Sorry.
Okay. Alder Harrington McKinney, questions?
Yes, I have a question. Yvonne, could you give a summary of how the city is reviewing these allocations, and what is the report back system, so that the initiatives that we are funding or will be approved, what is the process by which the city does checks and balances that they're reaching the mark?
Sure.
Is that question workable? Thank you.
So within our RFP process, once we have finalized funding recommendations, staff do work with agencies at that point to look over their scope of services, their program, and to make sure that it aligns based on the level of funding that they're receiving, but also able to meet the outcomes that are outlined within the RFP, as well as outcomes that the agencies themselves have included in their application. We do require all agencies to submit quarterly progress reports along with a demographic report, as well as an end-of-year annual report. So we track the outcomes quarterly. We also provide mid-year check-ins with each of our agencies. So whether that's on-site site visits or monitoring via desk, telephone, email, we are checking in with agencies quarterly. And then also, again, at the end of the year, reviewing that annual report to ensure that they've met their outcomes. And if they haven't met their outcomes, then we certainly talk with them about any need to make any adjustments in preparation for the next contract year. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. May I have a follow-up question? And my follow-up question is that if an agency who does not meet those funding goals, what is the process that the city follows to assist these organizations or these agencies to be on track? And then the final follow-up question is that the quarterly documents that you said that the agencies or the funded agencies are required to submit, where are those documents and how do we access those documents for informational purposes? I'm complete.
So I'll start with the second question first. Unfortunately, we do not have a citywide area where we house those quarterly reports. They are housed within the system that we use within the division called Provider Gateway. So agencies have to upload their quarterly progress reports and any other reporting into that system. That is also the system that we use for their reimbursement request. So we do have that information within that system. If an alder was interested in getting information about a particular agency, that would require staff to essentially pull those PDF documents together and combine them into something that could be shared out. But we unfortunately do not have a kind of a general space where folks can just go and access that information. In terms of your first question, were you speaking to agencies who apply for funding and then are not recommended for funding, or are you speaking to agencies that are recommended for funding and how we support them in meeting their outcomes and goals?
The latter. I'm looking for how, and that is important because oftentimes agencies have good intentions and they're not moving in the direction that the city might want them to move. But I just want to hear what that support is to those agencies who might not be making the mark, but how is the city supporting them so that they can move forward and be successful in their endeavors?
Yes. So we, each area within the community resource unit has a contract manager that's assigned to that particular area. So for the purposes of crisis intervention and prevention, we have staff who serve as the contract manager and work with those agencies that have received that funding. And again, are reviewing those quarterly progress reports as well as other quarterly reports that they are submitting and working with those agencies, whether that's going on site, having conversations about their outcomes and goals, challenges that they're seeing, connecting them to other agency partners that may have dealt with a similar challenge, but has found a way to kind of work through it. And so making sure we're connecting agencies together to be collaborative partners. For instance, we have the neighborhood center directors who we bring together quarterly to meet as neighborhood center directors. So creating a space where they can also talk amongst themselves around the challenges that they are seeing and sharing best practices. We facilitate those meetings, but create that space for neighborhood centers to come together and have those dialogues. But throughout all of our areas, we do require all of our organizations that are funded to be a part of a cohort. And so for the Crisis Intervention and Prevention RFP, we introduced that in the last RFP. And so the agencies that are currently being funded have been a part of that cohort for the past 4 years. So we, again, are bringing them together in a space to talk about barriers and challenges, be able to share best practices with each other, but then also provide that individual support as needed as staff, but also making sure that we're connecting them to other resources if they need it. Does that help?
Thank you. Yes. Great answer. Thank you. I'm complete, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. We have no other alders in the queue with questions for staff at this time, so thank you, Yolanda. And we'll move to discussion. It's been moved and seconded. Alder Madison, discussion? Oh, did,
Say a couple of things about the RFP. So in short, if folks remember, when MPD presented their annual report, I said a couple of things about Black youth and how some of this is kind of alarming for me. And so I did not let it go. I likely won't let it go for a long time until it's at a different point. But I do want to say some thank yous, because a lot of what I've been able to work on over the last couple of months showed up in this RFP. So I'm very much thankful for that. So one of the reasons why I wanted to at least work on making some changes to the RFP is really because I really wanted the city to do the best job possible to help create opportunities for agencies to do the kind of work we know that should be happening to ensure more young people are not involved in the criminal justice systems, for example. And so for alders, I also want to say, before I just give a bunch of thank yous, I do want to just say specifically for alders, some of you, including myself, we have challenges in our district that are related to young people, and I don't think we should allow ourselves not to be engaged with CDD about some of the solutions for the challenges in our individual districts, because this is an RFP that can help us get to some of those challenges. One of the things that I was very adamant about is in my ridiculous amount of meetings and data requests, I asked from MPD, I got a heat map that proved where young people were most likely to get in trouble. And for example, East Town Mall and West Town Mall show up on that. But if you have an apartment building in your district that is having some challenges, I think that you should really go and meet with CDD to understand the RFP, and then do your due diligence to reach out to local agencies who may, be experts in this kind of area and suggest offering programming in or near your district where these challenges are happening, because the city has all these various tools, and this is literally like a tool towards helping us manage some of the challenges in our district. So if you're experiencing challenges where young people may need more opportunities to be where they're, not to send them somewhere else, but to do what will be more encouraging and helpful for them right where they want to be at, I think this is an opportunity to explore. So I do want to say, because oftentimes I'm not sure how often other alders are meeting with staff about various things, but I also wanted to say thank you to a bunch of different people so you understand how much goes into something, and that it requires more of us to be engaged, especially around young people. But I do want to say thank you to the mayor, because I did get to attend the mayor's violence prevention meeting and to share a goal, but that meeting has so many people on it from various agencies across the city that it was helpful for me to have a conversation with everybody at once. Despite me not wanting to be in another meeting, I think it was very helpful for me to be there. So I do want to say thank you for allowing me to be in that meeting and sharing some of the goals I had around Black youth. I do want to say, just to shout out MPD and Chief Patterson. We met a few times about this to discuss not just Black youth arrest, but what he felt might be lacking and where officers can make referrals to young people and their families. But he also did a really great job of helping me get all my data requests filled, and it was a lot. And to go back with those requests and create me a heat map. I do want to thank CDD staff, especially Yolanda, for meeting with me a couple times to discuss the RFP and the goals about what's in our capacity to increase positive outcomes for youth proven to be at risk. I do want to say thank you to Justice Castaneda from Commonwealth for discussions to help me expand my knowledge of where young people want to be and what's happening and not happening to provide positive outlets for them. To the counties, Martha Stacker and Andre Johnson, for helping me understand what the county funds around youth violence prevention. To parks, maybe for some folks that might be surprising, but for example, Alders Evers and Glenn and I were on a conversation with parks around challenges that were happening at Goodman Pool. And I do think if agencies took this up, this would be a good RFP to activate spaces around the pool where young people really want to be at. So I am thankful for Terrence Thompson for reaching out to me, and for CJ, and I forget the other park staff name, but this discussion, I don't know, it was just plentiful, and the follow-up discussions were really great. Greg Galimbic he's a data nerd, like sometimes I am, for helping me make sense of the data I was getting back. And Richard Harris, who I believe he's a social worker, but he helped me understand all the key decision-making points in the juvenile justice system. And, the last thing I guess I'll say is, in this process of, learning, getting information from MPD in their annual report, having conversations with Yolanda and CDD, I did not know, especially before the mayor's meeting, I did not know 17-year-olds were treated as adults in the system. So for me, this is also a little personal in the respect that if we could do more to catch 12 to 16-year-olds, we would have less of them ending up in the adult system. So again, I just want to encourage everybody, especially if you're having challenges with young people in your areas, to meet with CDD, to understand the RFP and how you can talk about this opportunity to potential nonprofits who can be part of the solution. So that's it. So thank you for everybody who has met with me. If I forgot somebody, would you end up hearing this at some point? I appreciate y'all because I have a ton of emails, ton of conversations, but I believe I saw everything that I was suggesting and shared at Finance Committee end up in the final product for the RFP. So I appreciate y'all.
Thank you, Alder. I have no other alders in the queue to speak. On item 56, the substitute has been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we'll record a unanimous vote in favor of item 56. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Are there any announcements and/or introductions of items from the floor? Vice President Govindarajan.
Thank you, Mayor. Quick announcement from both President Vitiver and myself. We spoke about this at CCEC, but alders, please hold September 30th on your calendar for a Council of the Whole type of discussion for the City Council. We will be discussing generally homelessness as a topic. You will be getting more information later in your emails, but save the date, check your emails for information, and reach out if you have questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Are there any other Knox announcements?
Yeah, I just wanted to, hopefully people may have had an opportunity on the front end to attend the National Night Out. I did so at Penn Park. It was a good event, and I think an important event where the city tries to develop positive relationships between our community, the police department, and other nonprofit services. So I don't know, it's probably over now. It's supposed to be over at 7. So, but I did thoroughly enjoy that. And hopefully other alders had an opportunity to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Any other announcements? Just add that this Sunday is Ride the Drive. I hope folks can get out and enjoy that. And seeing nothing else, Alder Madison, it's your turn. Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection to recording a unanimous vote in favor? Seeing no objection, we stand adjourned. Have a good night, everyone.